President, and we are now live.
Thank you. I call this meeting of the Millersville Borough Council to order as of 6:00 p.m. Just a quick aside before we rise for the pledge. I wanted to note that Sam Bigler, a longtime resident of the borough and a frequent presence in this chamber, has passed. I would ask that following the Pledge of Allegiance, we take our customary moment of silence in his honor, and in the hopes that others find their way to us following in his example of civic engagement and community activism. Now, if you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Very well. First item on our agenda is approval for the minutes of our council meeting held on June 24th, 2025. Does anybody have any notes or objections to the content of those minutes? Very well. Seeing none, I move that we approve the council minutes for the meeting held on June 24th, 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Phyllis. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. At this time, council will hear any comments, requests, or concerns from members of the public related to items on the agenda or other matters. You will have 5 minutes to speak. We do ask that you either come to the microphone or request that the microphone be brought to you. We do also ask that you give your name and a general address for the record. Would anybody like to address council at this time?
All right, here we go. My name is Randall Snyder. I live at 209 Manor Avenue. I'm here with a couple of my neighbors, and our complaint is 138 Manor Avenue. Something has to be done. It's just grown up. I've lived on Manor Avenue since October 1st, to be 45 years. In my giving them the benefit of the doubt, nobody's been in that house for 10 years, and I think it's longer. There's weeds are growing up the side of the house. I took pictures before I came if you want to see it. We all know where it's at. What I can't understand is every year we have to come and complain about this property. Something has to be done. And reading the ordinance, yous can go in and clean it up and put a lien on the house and charge them what it costs, plus I think it's 10 or 15% more. I was told by other people they're using it to store things. So, I don't know, maybe it's a warehouse, I don't know. So, you know, it's just going, it starts there and it's just going right down the street in Manor Avenue. 212 at Manor Avenue and her has 3-foot weeds in the corner. Now I talked to you a month ago, and you must have sent a letter out because everybody mowed their yard. But now they won't mow their yard till they get another letter. The main reason, what really brought me here was I just got done trapping 6 skunks out from underneath my house. And they're coming, everybody I had early. If you get a skunk, don't call early. It is very expensive. They were there for a week. They got 1 skunk. I got 5 of them. All right. But so it's getting to be a health issue. Because when I had them guys there, 2 of them were there, and they all told me the same thing. They pointed up the street and said, as long as that's like that, you're going to have skunks. It has to be cleaned up. So, I don't know. That's my complaint. I don't know if we can do anything about it, but something has to be done.
Yeah, and this is something we will follow up on. We do appreciate the comment.
And then because I went in and took the property maintenance thing down. I got it all here, and I know the weeds can only be 6 inches high and all that stuff. And the sidewalk You have a sidewalk thing as you're going to discuss with the tree limbs and seeing, you should also put on that, the weeds in the sidewalk are the responsibility of the property owner. Because all you gotta do is drive down Manor Avenue, it's all weeds. Nobody's cleaning the weeds off the sidewalk. So,
I differ with that.
if we want it to look nice, you know, because years ago, the Historical Society was here, they wanted to make it historical, and the reason was they wanted the main street to look nice. Well, the main street's getting worse every day.
I do have a question for you in relation to this, and I'm assuming that you are referring mostly to that particular section of Manor Avenue,
Yes, from basically,
only that part.
like the 138, 132 down to her avenue.
Okay.
But there are some above that, but I'm just.
But I think further up, most of them are pretty well kept.
Yes, there's a few, and I think the ones that are really bad are rentals. And the people the guys that are renting them just don't care. So.
That's right.
You know, because I know the Keens and the Nafsingers, we work hard to keep our houses nice.
Sure.
So something has to be done. I mean,
Yeah, and I'll make sure we follow up on that.
I don't know if you can call it abandoned or not. I don't know how long somebody if nobody's been there that long, to me, it's abandoned. Now, I guess they're paying their taxes, but, you know, that's. And I know I'm only supposed to talk about one issue. I got 43 seconds left. I got one more issue.
Sure.
The speed on Manor Avenue has to be stopped. The garbage trucks have got to slow down, and the city buses, somebody has to give them a call and tell them to slow down, because it is terrible. The speed is terrible. I mean, I could sit in my porch. People are passing people out. So, it's bad. It's bad. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. This time, would anybody else like to address council? Oh, please.
Good evening, Nicole Nafziger, Manor Avenue. I just wanted to echo Mr. Snyder's concerns, every single one of them. Those of us who live on that corridor of Manor Avenue, who own our homes, who live in them, some of us even have rentals on that corridor, really work hard to take care of them. And it's becoming a safety issue on the opposite side of the street specifically. And so I would just ask for your attention to that. I also just wanted to thank you. I sent an email about potholes on Bender Avenue that were eating our cars, and it was fixed the next day. So thank you, whoever took care of that. That was awesome. And just one more comment on the trash. I did address trash in my email, and I didn't get a response, and it hasn't changed, but the trash trucks are coming through at like 5 a.m. some mornings, 4:30 a.m. down Manor Avenue and backing down the side streets, and then beep, you know, when they back up, they like beep. And that is disruptive. Like, if a contractor wanted to come to a private residence, they wouldn't be allowed to do that before 7 a.m. because they wouldn't disrupt the neighbors. So I would ask that you would have your contractors for the borough have the same courtesy for those of us who are paying for their service. So thank you as always for all that you do. I know that it is a thankless job. So I wish you a great summer, and thank you.
Aren't we glad we're not Philadelphia?
Amen.
Would anyone else like to address council? Very well. Seeing no one, we will move on to our next item. Oh, good. At this time, it is my pleasure to appoint Mary Ann Gerber as the new head of our Personnel Committee, the chair of that committee, following the recent withdrawal of Darlene Eager from our council. You all know Mary Ann and the experience that she brings. We're very lucky to have her. From there, we will move on to our Finance Advisory Committee. That is chaired by me. Would the other members of the Finance Advisory Committee please just wave to the audience so they know who you are? There we go. Yep, and Mary Ann down at the bottom there. Okay. All we have for the Finance Committee is review and approval of our June financial reports. This was in the backup. I reviewed this before council. Nothing really jumped out at me. Did anybody have any questions about the check register or any of the finances? Very well. In that case, I will make a motion to accept the June financial report and authorize staff to satisfy ordinary and routine obligations incurred by the borough for this month. Do I have a second?
Second.
From Mary Ann, thank you. Barring any further discussion, all those in favor of accepting the June financial report, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Very good. Motion carries. And I will pass this over to Mary Ann for the Personnel Advisory Committee.
Okay, first of all, roll call. I think we're now 3, and I see Mike and I see Linda down there, so all 3 of us are here. The first item on the agenda is a discussion of the Borough Employee Handbook update, and I'll ask Rebecca to speak to that.
So, the Borough Employee Handbook has been in place for a number of years, and our current version is from 1996, which everyone can understand is a pretty long time for a handbook not to be updated. So that's been one of the projects that we've been working on this year. There's been a number of different federal and state laws that need to be in a handbook, as well as a lot of organizational changes that have happened that needed to reflect that. So this project was really to the benefit of both our employees and generally for administration purposes. I work really closely with our labor attorneys team on this to get it up to a better place. And I will note too that, of course, because we have 2 collective bargaining units, that there are big chunks of the handbook that don't necessarily apply to folks in those collective bargaining units because they are provided for in their contract. But this is the base document that serves for all of our employees. So I won't necessarily talk you through every change because that would take a while, but I did work with all of the department heads to meet with all staff to go over these changes, be able to answer questions from staff. And so we're bringing to you this evening the final draft of this employee handbook that we're looking for council's approval. I'll just note that some of the big things that were changed in there, FMLA was put in there with today's language. Obviously, since 1996, that has changed. Things around COBRA, things around an IT policy. In 1996, we didn't have an IT policy. There was no need for one. So we've got an IT policy, a social media policy, more information around different types of leave that employees are entitled to, like military leave, things like that. So those are the big updates in there. It's certainly a slightly lengthy document, but that is what we're looking for this evening for adoption of that document.
That being said, I will make a motion to approve the adoption of the updated Millersville Borough Employee Handbook as presented. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Second by Mike. All those on the Personnel Committee in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, and we'll take that to council. We have 2 discussions tonight that are interesting. We have, first of all, the discussion of a planning commission vacancy. We have 3 applications before the Personnel Committee. And the Personnel Committee will look over the applications this evening, and we will hopefully be able to make a recommendation to council, who will then, on the 22nd of July, make an appointment to the Planning Commission. It's my understanding, Dan, that you wish to be considered for the Planning Commission. And we do have your resume with regard to council, and if it's okay with you, we'll use that resume.
Yeah, that's what I shared
Okay.
with Rebecca, and she said that one copy was enough.
It certainly is. We have enough copies of everything. Amos Hess is the second applicant, and a third applicant has come forward, Jennifer Engel. Now, we just received these this evening. I don't know how Mike and Linda feel about making a nomination.
I could make a nomination.
Sure.
I would nominate Dan Ostowski for that position. He's been on the council many times. He was a president of council. He is certainly knowledgeable enough to do this job well.
Okay.
As for planning,
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Well, you can't,
You
Marion.
can't, it has to be the
Has to be from
committee.
personnel.
Either of us?
No, I'm second that. No.
You'll second it?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we recommend Dan for the, Dan Ostrowski for the Planning Commission. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And so we will do that, Dan. We'll recommend the council, and council will select. Okay. And now,
Nothing, I was thinking we were going.
we're not going to nominate for council tonight because the third candidate can be here. Okay. Now, the next thing that we have to do is discuss candidates for the council vacancy that arose because of the resignation of Darlene Egger. And before we get into that, I have something to comment upon, and I'm going to speak into the microphone so there's no doubt about what I have to say. I am recommending to LNP that they find a reporter to cover our meetings who is not half-deaf, because the one who covered the last meeting took a comment of mine and completely twisted it around. Reported in the newspaper was the fact that I cared whether or not an individual was running for borough council, and I would not vote for a person who was running for borough council. And the opposite is true. What I said was, I don't think that matters. I don't think a person's affiliation, political affiliation, should matter. I think this should be an open process, and I, for one, am looking for the person who would best serve the borough. I see a lot of people in the audience who were here the last meeting, and you know that is what I said. So hopefully the reporter, if she is covering this meeting, got the message and will not misrepresent my remarks. Now, that being said, I don't want to burst your eardrums. Let me read to you what the Borough Code says with regard to this matter. Let's see. The Borough Code states that council has 30 days to fill the vacancy by resolution. This individual would hold the office until the first Monday in January after the November municipal election. That would be filling out Darlene Egger's term. Filling the vacancy means a majority of council casts a yea vote. If council does not fill the vacancy in 30 days, the vacancy board has 15 additional days to fill it. The vacancy board consists of the council, and just the council, not the mayor, and the one appointed vacancy board chair, who is Dan Ziegler. And Dan has been our vacancy board for many, many years, more than 20 years, and he's never had to act. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I will tell you the procedure. We have 3 candidates for Borough Council. We have Dan Ostrowski, we have Mike Miklos, and we have a third candidate, John Mishner, who could not be with us this evening. So this evening, we are going to interview Dan and Mike. And on the 22nd of July, we will be interviewing John Mishner, and then council will publicly have a discussion and select a person to fill the vacancy. This is too big a decision for just the Personnel Committee. So I have asked that everyone on council be given the applications from all 3 candidates in the cover letters, And what we're going to do, I think we'll start with you, Dan, since you handed yours in first. We'll start with you, and we'll ask both you and Mike tonight, and ask John on the 22nd, why you would like to come onto council, and what you feel your strengths are in filling a vacant position on council. When you have finished your spiel, anyone on council may feel free to ask questions, but those questions are limited just to council. So that's the procedure, ladies and gentlemen. Does anybody else on council have any questions before we begin? Okay. Well, Dan, you might want to come up and use the mic.
Sure.
Okay.
In case the reporter's here, I'll speak loudly. Yeah, thanks for having me tonight and hearing me out. I spent 8 years on Borough Council. My term ran from, I think, January of 2014 to January of 2022. I really enjoyed serving the community. I've lived in Millersville. September will be 26 years. My in-laws live here. My wife grew up here, so got some good friends here. I didn't even know who were going to be here tonight. And I really, I enjoyed being involved in helping the community, getting to know the team here, the staff here, and working alongside Chief and Chief Rachat before that. I've kind of missed being involved. I've been out of it for a couple years. When I saw the Planning Commission opening come up, I thought I'd put my name into that, and then someone alerted me to this, and I just seeing that you've got a short-term opening about with five months or whatever until the end of Darlene's term. I thought having somebody with some experience on council would be able to come in and get up to speed relatively quickly. I'm sure we've got some other excellent candidates too, and I'm sure they've got plenty to offer. But I do have the track record of as you had mentioned, 8 years on council, 2 years as president, I think 4 years as personnel chair, including going through a couple different uniform and non-uniform contract negotiations. So I do have some background that could help me in this role. In addition, I mentioned I'm personally invested in the community. I also am the director of operations for Charles Snyder Funeral Home, which we've got a location right here in town that falls under my responsibility, and then our location just outside of town across from Scheid Produce. I know it's not Millersville, but we're close by. So from a professional standpoint, Millersville is very important to me too. We were happy to help bring my wife sits on I'm just drawing a blank. Civil service, thank you. And we were able to work with, she and I were able to work together with Chief and the borough team and my employer to bring the National Night Out back to Millersville last year, which was pretty exciting. In my business background, I've been in operations and leadership almost my whole career. So I do feel like I have kind of a good logical mindset, problem-solving ability, and leadership and communication abilities. I do think could help council.
Thank you. Anyone on council want to ask Dan any questions?
I would like to.
Sure.
I'm just curious, with 5 months to go, if there is anything in particular that is coming up in the borough or that you are familiar with in the borough that you feel especially you could weigh in on and have input that would be of great value to the council?
Development is obviously a very important item in front of council and for the borough right now. And I do believe that having, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably don't share the same perspective on the proposed development at 741 and 999 that the rest of council does. I'm probably a little bit more in favor of going bigger there. My personal belief is we've got the opportunity to address a housing issue in a free market way. That might not be very, I'm sure with Linda that's not a very, very popular point of view, but I do believe I can bring a diverse opinion and represent a constituency that's probably not as vocally represented. I'm making some assumptions here. I haven't been involved in a lot of the conversations, but my understanding is the prevailing opinion is to, limit the density. And of course, we have zoning laws that we've got to follow. And I'm not 100% in favor of negotiating with one developer, as opposed to kind of leveling out the playing field for all developers. But I do think that's a big issue, and I do think I represent a number of people in the borough who probably might not feel as represented on that issue. It's not the reason I'm doing this. If this were just a normal year with normal borough business, I'd be putting my name in the ring anyway, because like I said, I do miss being involved, and I do think this is an opportunity for me to help out.
Thank you.
Good. Anyone else have a question for Dan?
Sure, I'll ask. Just because I know that you have business here in the borough, do you foresee any decisions in front of council that, for which you may have a vested financial interest in voting one way or another?
Other than a paycheck, I have no vested financial interest in my employer, and if anything came up that I thought would create a conflict of interest or would, legitimately create a conflict of interest, I'd recuse myself from any voting. Last thing in the world I'm going to try to do is come in here and pat my pockets on the borough taxpayers. That does not interest me at all.
Understood, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And thank you, Dan.
You bet. Thanks for your time.
And now we'll hear from Mike Miklos. And we'll start, Mike, with your telling us why you would like to be on council and what special skills and aptitudes you might bring to council.
Well, thank you very much for asking me to do that. I've been a resident of Millersville since the mid-1990s. My family raised my son here, who attended Penn Manor. I've been active in the community as a resident since that time. I've not been actively involved with the board, but I have monitored and paid attention to what's going on. And my hope is to be able to be an active listener, participant on the board, and to promote issues that are helpful to the well-being of our community. My background is I served as a school psychologist for IU13's early intervention program for a number of years, and went on to lead a statewide program under the Pennsylvania Department of Education. It was Patton's Autism Initiative, which involved leading a large-scale training program for teachers across the state in order to make sure that students who had some of the most significant needs were provided effective and efficient education, and involved training teachers. And in that role, I think it helped me develop the ability to listen to other people, to analyze circumstances involving the distribution of services in a way that I think is reasonable and thoughtful, and looks to serve the best interest of the community. Millersville is just a wonderful place to live. I think we all appreciate that, and I'm currently a candidate for the Borough Council. When I saw the opening, I thought that it was an opportunity to serve and fill a needed position, which what was my motivation, and will continue to be my motivation if after the election I do return to the council. So I look forward to being of assistance to the community I care for.
Does anyone have any questions for Mike? Phyllis?
Yes, I think I'll ask you basically the same question that I asked Dan, and that is, do you have anything in particular that you are aware of in relation to the borough that you feel strongly about, that you feel as a member of council you would best be able to serve our interests?
Yes, I think the development issue is very important and needs careful consideration. I think that's important. I think that continued look at other issues in the borough as they arise are going to be important too. And there, I think general ideas regarding general welfare of how services are provided.
Can I ask, when you say development issues, can you be a little bit more specific?
Yes, the
741, 999.
Would you repeat your question, please, Marion, a little louder?
I said, well, I just was questioning when he said, you know, what were the issues that he's asking development, as far as development?
Yes, the 999 and 741, I think
Okay.
that being very thoughtful about how that is developed is important.
Agreed.
Any other questions for Mike? Anybody?
I have one. Have you ever had a chance to work with the municipality with your psychology background?
I was a member of the Community Action Program's Board of Directors, so I've sort of done a Board of Directors program, but not directly with municipal services.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, you do?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So you had mentioned, in general terms, being active in the community throughout your many years as a resident here in Millersville. Could you speak to some of the items that, some of the actions that you've done or some of the organizations you've belonged to in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, I had worked at the Elizabeth Jenkins Early Childhood Center for a number of years. I served on their Board of Directors.
Very good, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mike. And as I mentioned before, we will be hearing from John Mishner on the 22nd. And at that time, I'm sure that we will have a vote. So it's likely we could appoint a new person on the 22nd, or we would have to involve Dan Ziegler. That being said, I will turn it over to Public Welfare.
Phyllis?
Thank you. Everyone who's on public welfare and public works, please raise your hand. Okay, we are the committee for this, and we don't really have much to discuss tonight, but I would like our codes officer, I think I saw you hiding back there, to please come up and give us a report.
Thank you, Council. So in June, we issued 17 permits, performed 23 inspections. For rentals, we renewed 302 licenses and 43 inspections. So far in July, we issued 4 permits, 2 inspections, and rentals, we had 9 renewals and 16 inspections.
Does anyone have any questions for Rob besides myself? I have a question. Okay, I would like to address what was brought up in the citizens' requests and concerns. Since you are code officers, and we received complaints tonight about 138 Manor, and also some of the other areas along that particular stretch has been brought up by 2 different people tonight. So I would like to know what you're doing as under codes and zoning. Is anything happening there? What's going on?
We received now that we have the actual addresses, I will be looking into those issues.
Okay, and I walk a lot, and I've seen some of this, so I know what they're talking about. And I think that we do give out warnings concerning the height of weeds, et cetera. So surely these are residences which need to be looked at immediately.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
welcome.
And the other thing I wanted to ask about, I don't know what we can do about the garbage trucks and the buses, because I know the garbage trucks are coming down Manor, usually at 5:30 in the morning, because I'm up and I hear them every Monday. but I'm sure they do that in order to make their rounds in a specific amount of time, and so there probably is not much that we can do about that. Now, the one residence that was mentioned earlier, I got the sense that this is a vacant property.
I think 138 is a rental property. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not sure about 212 Manor Avenue, though.
So that's something else that needs to be checked on if there is a vacant property there, because I know that some months ago, we had been discussing how to handle vacant properties in the borough, and it's very possible that we may need to revisit this if this is an issue. So I would really appreciate it, Rob, after you check this out, if you'd get back to me and let me know what's going on.
Of course.
Yeah, we'll send an email to all of council when.
That would be excellent.
Hey, Rob?
Yes.
It's not, we've been through this situation before, and it's not something that you hear about it on a Monday, and then by Friday, somebody's out taking care of the house. It's more of a, will you explain some of the process?
Yes.
The first they get one a year, which is a 10-day warning notice to cut, and then they get a borough citation after that it's $100 now for the borough citation, and then they have 15 days thereafter to complete it. If they don't make payment and they don't do what's in violation, then we issue a citation with the district justice.
Okay, so the person that complained this evening, it's not something that can be handled like in a week. It's going to take some time.
Take some time.
It's been 20 years. But it's been 20 years. Yeah.
Patient.
20 years. I mean, how long, every year we go. Like, has it ever been? I complained to Rebecca months ago.
What's that?
And we did,
Has anything ever been filed with the district justice?
With those two individual properties, no.
Why? I mean, I got pictures. Want to see them?
Yeah, we can talk after the meeting. We'll talk after the meeting.
Well, could I ask, when you said, now that we got the addresses, that sort of implies that you just recently got the addresses in
Yes,
place too.
yes.
Why would that be, if there were?
To be honest, this is the first in my 3 years here that I've heard about these two addresses specifically.
I'm giving you a bit of an out here. I mean, when I heard that, I'm thinking, if you don't have any addresses, how can you investigate something? But I'm not sure if it's been going on that long.
I mean, the borough's cleaned it up before.
Why-
The borough
what-
I've seen
you know,
borough employees.
yeah.
clean
But
it
I
up.
mean, I'm wondering if you didn't get the addresses,
I didn't have exact addresses at the time.
And we can handle the rest of this
Yeah,
offline.
but
We're getting a
I-
little bit far afield from our agenda.
I know they want to take
Mike.
care of them, we do too, so.
Yeah, of course.
I would like to make a comment with regard to the garbage trucks. I think the reason you're hearing them at 5 o'clock in the morning is they have elected to start with Manor Avenue because that's the street that has the most traffic, particularly when the students are here. So they're trying to make less of an impact on traffic. So I think that's the rationale behind it. I'm not making a comment whether it's a good thing or not, but I think that's why they do it that way. Yeah.
But previously, the contract, my understanding with the previous hauler was that they could not come before, I believe it was 7 a.m. That was actually.
We have the same
like
caller, don't we?
5 years ago, because I complained about this 5 years ago and it stopped. I had a conversation with the individual who handled that contract.
I think,
Rebecca, you've spoken with these, with our contractors.
so it is the same hauler, the same hauler that we've been using for many, many years. We have a new contract with them, that just started, but it is the same hauler, it is Penn Waste. They did go by a different name before, but it is the same hauler. No, we do not have any sort of requirement that they start after a certain time. As Councilmember Gerber said, the reason that they start there and because they start early is because of the traffic on Manor Avenue. They have to kind of bang that one out first. It does sometimes depend on the day and the weather and what's on the street. As everybody probably knows, when you're driving down Manor, there's a lot of homes on Manor, there's a lot of trash cans, so a lot to be picked up on Manor, just like there is on George. They do have to hit those big streets first, and to try to minimize the effect it has on traffic and people trying to get to work, at 8, 9 o'clock.
So if I could just comment, then maybe they don't back down the side streets until a reasonable hour. If they need to drive through Manor Avenue, that's not as disruptive, would be my.
I have to interject here. Mike, who lives within earshot of the fire company and the ambulance bureau? I've been hearing, my kids grew up, we've been hearing ambulances, fire alarms, well, we got used to it. I live near the train station in Lancaster, growing up in Lancaster. I got used to the trains. Our garbage men backing up, they're gonna be vital to our community. I'm gonna mention Philadelphia again. I don't think beeps at 5:30 is worth it.
I seem to have opened a can of worms, and I will close it.
Yes, I think it's time for us to perhaps move on at this point, because there'll be an opportunity for more citizens' requests at the end of the meeting. But Rob, I want to thank you for your report and for looking into this, and I can honestly say, I read your reports, and they are excellent, and you're certainly doing your job and doing a very good job. There's always going to be other things that are going to keep coming up, but thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
And that concludes Public Works and Public Welfare.
Sure.
My comment on the garbage trucks wasn't the collector. It's the garbage trucks going to the land, out to the land. We were talking about speeding. You know, when I was talking about speeding, it's not.
Sure.
Right, speeding.
It's the people going to the landfill. It's all day long. That's who I'm.
We are going to move on to our next agenda item. Do appreciate the feedback, though. We have a discussion on the public hearing regarding the proposed text amendment from Garmin Builders. Member of council, Vice President Phyllis Giberson had some concerns about that. I'll let her speak to that a little bit more fully.
Okay, I know that when we have had several public hearings in the past, which were on topics that were of minimal concern, I would say, to a lot of the residents, we were able to hold them at the beginning of a council meeting, and rarely do we have any comment on those things, and then we have moved on. The particular item here, which is the Garmin Builders, the 741-999 project, is really a hot-button issue in the borough, whether you are for or against it, or how you think. And I have asked Rebecca, our borough manager, and we need to have a consensus, I'm sure, with the council, to not try to do that on a borough council night, but rather have it on a separate night where all we are doing is talking about that project and giving the public a chance to really discuss this. When we had a council meeting where Garmin was present and we had a chance to question them, and we had standing room only and people out in the lobby that couldn't even get in here. So I am suggesting that we contact Penn Manor High School and talk with the superintendent about possibly having this over maybe at Eshelman Elementary in the gym. That is what we did previously when we had a public hearing on the comprehensive plan for the borough. And it was full. And since we know that we cannot accommodate a large number of people in this room, I am recommending, and I don't know if I need to make a motion, but I think what we need to do is make sure that we are holding that public hearing in a public place, not on a council night, but at a time, maybe it can be another Tuesday at the end of September or something like that, where we can accommodate a lot more people, because I honestly think we're going to have a lot more people that are going to have something to say about this development.
Sure, I think a resolution is a good idea, but before we move to that, does anybody have, do we have any alternate spaces that would suit us better? Is Eshelman our best option? I'm not seeing anything, so if you'd like to call for it, feel free.
Okay.
Oh.
Rebecca.
Before we do that, though, my recommendation would be a couple of things. One, I'm not sure, we might not need to really think through what a motion would be in this scenario, because this isn't really a typical item. We do not have a public hearing date yet set on the text amendment. The only thing in front of council right now is a text amendment. We have not received the final draft yet. It's come to council, it's come to planning commission, it has not yet gone to Lancaster County Planning Commission, and our attorney is still working with their attorney on making it fit with our ordinance.
And we're
So
expecting that back September-ish?
likely September at this point. It's not going to happen in August because of MPC rules
Right.
around 45 days for Lancaster County Planning Commission.
That's right.
So we don't have a date yet. So that's one difficulty. The other difficulty is that when the comprehensive plan was discussed at Eshelman, that was a public feedback session, not a public hearing. There was no votes taken. So I do want to make that separation. That was a public hearing, or that was a public info session to give feedback. A public hearing is for council to vote on an ordinance. So I just want to make sure that we're clear about that. And the only thing in front of council is a text amendment. There's no plan submitted, and there's no, we have not started the subdivision and land development process yet because they don't have a plan in front of council. The only thing in front of council is a zoning ordinance. Just want to put that all in.
Now, will this go to the zoning committee?
Not to zoning hearing board because they're not asking for a variance or a special exception.
Okay, so then I understand everything you're saying, and I'm well aware of that. I guess my final question to you is, can we have a public meeting in a larger place to accommodate more members of the borough?
Sure, absolutely. I just think that we have to be really clear about what the intent of that meeting is. I'm not sure that during the public hearing where council formally votes on a text amendment is necessarily the right place, because a public hearing is meant for council to ultimately vote on something.
Okay, so then are you suggesting that we could have a public meeting where the residents could come to ask questions of Garmin or whomever and find out the information, and so that council would be able to get much more feedback about what the residents like or don't like about this plan?
I actually think something that might be the best route forward, and one that I know that Manor Township has used and other boroughs and townships around it have used, is actually having the developer themselves host an info session. It wouldn't be borough sponsored, it would be them having an info session where residents could come and ask them questions directly. Because anytime we have a public meeting where you all are there as a quorum, it's a meeting, we have to have an agenda, we have to do all of those things. Whereas Manor Township has done this, I know other townships and boroughs have, where they put it on the developer and say, we'd like for you to host something. And we have already floated the idea to Garmin, but the timing issue does come into play again, that they're only at the text amendment stage, that I think that generally the preference is to wait and do that when they actually have a plan in front of council. But that doesn't mean that you all can't ask them to do multiple, or do it now and later, or 5 times, however much you want to ask them to do
In your
it.
conversation with Garmin, did you find them to be receptive to that idea?
Yes.
I think that's the direction we need to take, because I certainly understand your concerns about having a public hearing and we're all there and we expect a vote and all that kind of stuff. But I think Garmin needs to be forthcoming with this entire thing in a public venue that can hold more people than we have here. Because we know the last time they were here and presented a lot of stuff, we had standing room only, we had people outside, and people that were upset that they could not be in here to hear what was going on and to hear this plan. So I think it would behoove us to get Garmin to plan this type of presentation to the residents of the borough. And it doesn't have to be until September or whenever, but I think that we should be requiring them to do that.
What I can do is I can write to the leadership at Garmin and let them know of council's formal request that they host whatever they want to call it, an
Right.
info session, a feedback session, whatever they want to call it, and that they host that at their own expense.
I'm a little concerned about what they want to call it, though. Will they, you said they're receptive, will they hold a meeting like most of our public would? Will there be questions? I don't want them to have a meeting that they have a speaker and pictures and that's it. we want it on the terms of what most of the citizens would want, question, answer,
That's right.
not a presentation.
We can always,
Oh, and
Make-
I should say, I'm not sure they'd be so receptive to that kind of meeting.
we can always make those
That's right.
corrections. I mean, if members of council show up and see it and find it to be failing in its duty to the citizenry, to the public, we can always hold our own thing. But I'm not opposed to giving them a chance for increased transparency and a greater amount
Absolutely.
of communicativeness with the public.
And of course, it will need to be well publicized, even if Garmin is the one presenting and taking care of the logistics. The borough still needs to be responsible for seeing that the residents are aware of when this is and where this is taking place.
Absolutely, we
And we
can
can
do
amplify that, I
That's
think,
right.
on the website.
lots of
and
the
social
advertising we
media. Yeah.
typically do.
Excellent. Good conversation. We will move on to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Anything for us?
Just a couple quick things. As we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, the overabundance of old records the police department has had. Glad to report that we now have some empty space over there because we had a company come in and took over about 50 boxes worth of old records out and shredded on site. So our guys have some more room over there to reorganize the records we still have. Additionally, as you know, we still have 2 openings for police officers. The ads are out, and Chief says that we have received several of the preliminary applications, so we'll be looking at those very closely. And just one more thing on the concerns that were brought up earlier. We'll make sure that the officers, when they're out, when they do have time, because we are understaffed right now, our guys are working hard, but if they start seeing some violations that are extraordinary, we'll make sure that Rob gets those addresses going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excellent. All right, then we move on over to you, Rebecca, for the manager's report.
Sure, just one item this evening. This is the awarding of the Cottage Avenue traffic signal upgrade contract. We did a bid for this project. This is to add or take away the loop under the road at Cottage and George at that intersection there, the loop that alerts the traffic signal to change to green or red. This would be switching to a radar system. This was something that was budgeted for this year. We put it out to bid. The low bidder was CM High for $51,900. The engineer on the project did confirm that this, that they would recommend moving forward with this low bidder, so we're looking for the award of that contract this evening.
Very well. I will make the motion to award the Cottage Avenue traffic signal upgrade contract to CM High at a contract price of $51,900. Do I have a second?
Second?
We'll give that one to Linda. Any discussion required on this one? We've kind of talked this one to death already, I feel like. All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of awarding that contract, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? The motion will carry.
Thank you. And if you haven't had a chance yet, go drive on Cottage Avenue or Circle Road or Her and see the lovely new paving that just finished yesterday. We're very happy with the work that was done, and everybody should be really excited for a nice new paved road there.
It's a very smooth ride.
Doesn't mean you should speed, though, on that road.
Okay, a couple of items for my own report for the President's report this evening. A reminder to members of council, you have 7 or maybe 6 days left on cybersecurity training. If you haven't already done that, please make sure that that gets done. For the public, I want to continue to encourage additional letters of interest for our Borough Council vacancy. If you or someone you know is interested in filling that vacancy, we will consider anybody who is legally able at our next Borough Council meeting. And finally, just a quick announcement. I can't talk too much about this, but we have begun negotiations with our police union. The individuals that will be engaging with the police representatives will be myself, Councilmember Gerber, and Councilmember Kaufhold, in addition to our Borough Manager, Rebecca. And that is it for my report. I do not believe that we have any reason for an executive we have
We have
public comment.
citizens, yeah.
Yep. Very well, at this time, once again, council will hear any comments, requests, or concerns from members of the public related to items on the agenda or other matters. As before, you will have 5 minutes to speak. Again, please either come to the microphone or ask that the microphone be brought to you. And again, your name and a general address for the record. Would anybody like to address council? Very well, seeing none, and seeing no reason for us to engage in an executive session, I would like to move I will now entertain motions to adjourn. Do you want to make that one? There we go. Marion, does she have a second?
Second.
There we go, Phyllis. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Very good. I call this meeting adjourned as of 6:55 PM.